Haven't quite started yet, so you're at the right place at the right time. So,
Got it. Great. Thanks.
all right, we've got the microphone on there, so if you can't hear, let us know. But we'll assume everything will be okay.
Okay. Sounds good.
Yeah.
Just making sure we have a right camera.
How's that?
Oh, Jeff, I'm one of them.
I mentioned the sidewalks. Basically, the entire I spoke with the county once again. Just kind of
Did you want this, Brian?
thank you again. When I was focused on the sidewalks, other stuff as well.
Okay. Great.
Okay, thank you. But if he wants to write a check, though, Rick, we'll take it.
I'll tell you what, put that in there.
I will. It's gonna be in there.
On your own.
I think you were going to be the
Prior
chair. Oh, you're going to do it from this side?
stuff happening.
I was like, oh, wait a second. I see. Okay, good. He's going to chair from that side. I put it in your box, sir. I can go grab it.
Too much for you to remember anytime?
I do not, my capacity is like diminished by the minute, I think. Smart guy. Look at that, you go from sitting over there, and all of a sudden, you become smarter too.
I will start going to those, but that one came up when I already had something else on mind.
Yes.
Let's get this started.
We were listening about so we went to HR. That's because of this conference.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. Let's get this meeting started. Welcome to the April 18th, 2019 Transportation Advisory Committee meeting. Call the meeting to order. I believe we do have a quorum, and let's start with introductions. Kathleen?
Kathleen Collins at CDOT Statewide and Regional Planning.
Wendy Pettit, CDOT Region 2. Sally Riley, City of Woodland Park.
John Leo Santos, PPACG.
Anton Ramage, El Paso County.
Kristen Kenyon, Federal Transit, visiting you guys from Denver. Hello.
Tim Roberts, City of Colorado Springs.
Jason Dosh, Town of Palmer Lake.
Hi, I'm Amy Kelly. I'm from the Air Force Academy. I'll be sending an email to be appointed to the committee. I'm a government civilian. Deborah Baumgartner is moving on to a different position.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Darren Horsemeyer, Schriever Air Force Base.
Rick Orphan, Fort Carson.
Brian Vituli, City of Colorado Springs, Mountain Metro Transit.
And
Karen, go ahead.
Oh, hi. Karen Birchtold, City of Manitou Springs.
Okay. And in the audience?
Catherine Wonder, PPACG.
William Master, PPACG.
Jessica Bechtel, PPACG.
Great, thank you. Okay, item number 2, agenda approval. Could I have a motion to approve the agenda unless there are any last-minute changes?
So moved.
All right,
Second.
Thank you, Tim. Second. Thanks, Anton. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Thank you. Item 3, public comments for any items not on the agenda. Doesn't look like there are any. No
I was
public
making a
here.
mad rush to the microphone.
Okay. Item 4, approval of the minutes from the March 21st TAC meeting. Are there any? Sally?
Brian, I have 2 corrections. At the top of the second page, I was written up as Sally Clark. I'm Sally Riley, so we can change that. And then also, I was in attendance, and Paul Saunier and Darren Tangeman were not, and I just talked to Jessica about those 2
Okay.
corrections.
I'd point out that I was not in attendance either, and I will be abstaining from the vote for approval.
Okay. All right, so are there any other changes? Would someone like to make a motion with those changes included in the motion, please?
I'd like to make a motion that, with the exception of the changes noted, the minutes be approved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
All right, thank you. Item 5, Board of Directors report from last week's, was it last week already? Or 2 weeks ago? Board of Directors report.
It was the 10th, so it was last week.
Yeah, okay.
I had to look that up.
John, yeah.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, for the board agenda, there were just a couple of items that had relevance to your work here on the TAC. They approved as an action item the TIP Amendment number 8. They had a informational presentation from Chuck Attardo with CDOT on the I-25 Pell study, and it's not just the gap, but it was the full 34 miles was his presentation. That went very well, I thought. Quite frankly, I thought we would spend a lot of time talking about toll roads, but it didn't come up at all. They were really focused on the other things, so that was, I thought that went very well. And then we gave the TAC report. I believe Brandy was still there for that. Yeah, you didn't have to give it. Yeah, so, and that is it. The only other item of mention, it was that one of the big items that came up during the jurisdictional reports was that CDOT Director Shoshana Liu was in the region on the 4th, put together a tour by Don Addy and the 30 group. PPACG was a part of that tour, as well as CDOT and Karen Rowe and some other members of her staff, but went around to a lot of the different military installations and looked at proposed projects on I-25, the ramp off of Powers or the for Peterson, and then 94 for Schriever. So all in all, it was a good visit, and the director seemed very amenable and understanding of the military mission and wanting to make sure that she would do what she could to be of assistance. So I think that concludes the report. If anybody wants to add anything about the tour or anything else, happy to answer any questions or let anybody else really make any comments.
Any questions for John? All right, thanks, John. Okay, item 6A, our only action item today, 2045 Long-Range Transportation Plan, release of the draft chapters. Catherine?
Good afternoon, Catherine Winger, Transportation Planner. And you received a document that has a link to a first batch of our draft chapters for our long-range plan. It's not going to be in sequential order because some of them we're still working on that aren't within the correct number order, so that's why it looks a little weird. But we're going to try to give you these in 2 batches. The first batch is at the link that's provided in the memo, and the second batch, possibly a third, will be next month for action. And these are our draft chapters that we would like to release to the public. These won't be final. You'll still have a chance to read the comments from the public. You'll have a chance to re-review any edits that we made, and then again, we'll bring them back again once you have read those comments for a final approval, hopefully in November. So there's still quite a few chances and opportunities for you to review these chapters and give us comments. These are just so that you know what we're providing to the public and putting out there for public comment. And so this will be batch 1, and please let us know if you have any comments, and we'll be bringing it back later in the fall for your more review.
All right, so thank you for that. So that's the key thing, is that the action item is just to release them to the public for comment.
Yes.
And I'm sure all of us have read all 8 of these chapters already. I know I did.
Yeah.
So,
They're a good late night read.
yeah, absolutely.
Well, there's a couple of folks that read everything,
Uh-huh.
and Victoria's always one that is just a godsend, quite frankly, because we'll think we did something and we'll just send it out, and she actually reads everything, and she'll come back to us, you might not want to do this. This could be a problem. So for those of you that do have the time to read through everything, like Victoria, we appreciate it, and we'd much rather hear from you than let a document go out and then hear from the newspaper or the press or an elected official. So anything you guys can do to spend time looking at these things is appreciated. So.
And I think we all appreciate sending them out in batches rather than getting 30 chapters all at one time. So
And you get 1 week.
This is a good way to do
Go.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Any other questions for Catherine or John?
I have a question just
Yes.
about this Amy Kelly from USAFA, and it may have been in an email that I haven't yet received, but are you looking for comments for us before they get released? And if so, is there a deadline, or
This-
I wasn't clear from?
Sure. If you would like to provide comments for us before you believe it's okay to release to the public, we can do that. But this is mainly just for release to the public, and then that's opportunity for you to give us comments as well. So I guess it's kind of up to you guys if you feel comfortable releasing what we currently have to the public versus.
So if there's a fatal flaw or something, we should get in touch with you prior to a May date?
And actually, yeah, that would have been let's see, public review. So yeah, the public comment period isn't until August. So actually, there's quite a bit of time to get comments to us before we release it, because we have to create an executive summary and a bunch of documents to get ready for our public comment period. So there is a bit of time.
Okay.
This is just the first bite of the apple. This is, again, before we send something out to the public that is incorrect, we want to make sure you have the ability to head that off at the pass. I wanted to use Western lingo today. Because, again, once it gets out there, once the public sees it, that you can say, oh, it's only draft, all you want. But then we've already caused a headache for the individual jurisdiction. So this is your first look at this, say, this is what's going out. It hasn't been widely distributed yet, unless someone's sitting there reading through our TAC agendas all the time. It hasn't been widely distributed. There's plenty of opportunity to sort of pull back. This is just the first opportunity. And like Catherine said, you'll have the opportunity again after it goes out before we're asking for your final adoption.
And just as another note, the draft chapters, they do say draft on them, and we have the graphics that are supposed to go with the chapter. They're at the end of the chapter, each chapter, so it really is in draft form, and we want to make sure we get comments and everything formulated beforehand so that when we go into design, we're not having to pay our design person a lot of money to, make all these changes. So that's just why you're going to see it more in a rough form as far as the design goes.
That's a good point.
This is Karen. So I just wanted to clarify, do you want our comments by email?
Yes, that would be fine.
Okay. And say within the next week or two, or what's the deadline?
They're talking inside, so.
Oh, well, sorry. Anton just asked me a good question I didn't have an answer to, so I wanted to make sure.
Did she ask another question?
Karen asked when the deadline is for comments.
Well, I didn't really have one just because it was a kind of an open-ended thing until the comment period, or during the comment period, really. But I can make one right now on the spot. Let's go for the end of July. We can do public comments, our comments from our members, and then that should give me enough time to release it to the public.
Did you hear that, Karen?
I did.
End of July, okay.
I'll email that out to everyone and just to clarify.
Okay. Any other comments or questions for Catherine?
Because you make a good point.
So I got a question, Catherine. So we're not releasing this to the public until August, and we have folks here asking if we have an opportunity to provide comments before it goes out. And we have a July suspense for that now. Should we not? Do we have to have the approval today to release it in August, considering it's April? Do we need to? Can we table this until July or until a later date? Until we had a chance to actually. Don't say we haven't had a chance. Until we've read it and then provided our comments. Could we do that, or is that? I don't know. Anybody else's thoughts? I'm just wondering why we're approving release in August when it's April.
That's a good question.
To provide comments.
Yeah.
Well, the biggest thing was we wanted to bring these in batches, so we wanted to get approval for the first batch, the second batch, and then be able to create an executive summary and then create the documents with your okay that will go to the public. So I think that was kind of the thought process in getting this part done earlier, is so that we can move ahead and start making documents that will be released. That being said, I don't know how drastic the comments are going to be, so we could probably still move forward even if we don't have final approval today. So if we want to move it back, and we'll still bring you the next batch of the next month, and then we can maybe say July for the next for actual approval for release, if John's okay with that and everybody else.
Yeah, well, for the record, I'm the one responsible for making that an action item, and it was just one of those things I looked at and like, oh yeah, we should make sure that we get their approval. And so approval in my mind was with that. I wasn't thinking about the big thing, so my fault here, but you're right. We don't need to get approval now, because it doesn't matter if you do this batch, approve it this batch this time, the next batch the next time. You can approve both batches at one time. So always better to be honest. I wasn't thinking along these lines, so I just said, yeah, let's make it the action item. But you're right, it doesn't need to be if you guys aren't comfortable moving forward.
Well, we wouldn't have any other action items if you didn't do that.
That's right. I just wanted to make sure we had something on the agenda. So,
well, I absolutely do appreciate the opportunity to get them in batches, as opposed to all at once. And then, so I don't want to discourage that. That is certainly appreciative. But I think I'd like to have a chance to a longer period of time to review it and provide comments before approved release to the public.
You want to make the motion then, Anton?
I make a motion that we table this until a later date, potentially July, depending on the receipt of the second batch.
All right. Is there a second?
I got to keep telling myself that.
I'll second.
Okay.
Sorry.
Thank you, Tim. Any other comments? All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Thank you. Thanks, Catherine. All right, item 7A, Cmac funding availability for cost overruns.
Hello, Catherine Winger, Transportation Planner. I sent out an email, I think it was a couple of weeks ago, requesting applications for cost overruns for our Cmac money for 2020. We received confirmation that we will be getting our 2020 Cmac funds, and part of those funds were already programmed for an MMT project, but there was $439,054 left that had not been programmed in our TIP, and so I sent out an email saying that's available. The applications are due May 3rd for 2019. These are 2020 funds, so they need to be obligated by September of 2020. And the priority that has been set by the committee is to go to current projects that have cost overruns. If nobody requests the funds, then we can open it up to possibly a new project, but the first priority goes to projects that need it for overruns. And so please email me those application questionnaires by May 3rd, and then the May TAC meeting will go over that for approval.
Any questions on that for Catherine? Sally?
Yeah, can we ask if someone is planning to apply for these funds? And if so, what project?
Yes, actually, Mountain Metro and traffic engineering both have projects.
Okay.
And one is the 5 Points Roundabout at Tejon, Cheyenne Boulevard, south of I-25. And then the other one is Metro Rides.
Our Metro Rides Travel Demand Management Program.
Okay. Thank you.
I have a question. Sorry for the stupid question, but you said it has to be obligated by July 2020. What's driving that requirement, Catherine?
Or September 2020.
Yeah. Why? Is that just your own internal
Well,
process?
that's just the date that those funds are they come up for their due, yes. We have in the past, if it hasn't gotten obligated, the funds have carried over, but we've been told that that's no longer an option, that the funds will not be carried over if they don't get spent in the year that they've been programmed.
Because it's not a federal requirement from FTA's perspective, just to clarify, like we don't have a hard stop deadline.
Correct, yeah. FTA funds, I believe it's the year that it gets put into is it team system, and then you've got 3 years after that. On the FHWA side, it is the year of obligation plus 3 for your apportionment. However, your obligation authority is only good for that current year. And because obligation apportionment is useless without obligation authority, everything has to be pretty much on that side of the house, the FHWA side, it's use it or lose it. And as Catherine had mentioned, because CDOT has been willing to step up and use our money and then pay it back to us, we haven't done use it or lose it. However, that policy with the last, and of course, you'll have to make sure I get this right, Wendy, with the last reauthorization, they put in some very specific code that no longer allows CDOT to do that. So CDOT's been doing what they can to help us make sure that we've obligated all of our funds. But this particular batch is, even though it's new funds, it's towards the end of that process. So we've got to make sure that whatever project we decide to put it on or program it on, that project has the ability to obligate it in that short time frame.
And also, Kristen, the FAST Act now only has 5 years worth of money and 6 years worth of time frame. So that's part of the issue as well. And the fact that since that formulary is part of the law, we can't take that funding and replace it like we have in the past with some of the different colors of money that come here directly through that formula process. And without them using it, they lose it. So that's where it's coming from.
All right. Any other questions for Catherine? All right. Thank you, Catherine. Item 7B, Federal Fiscal Year 2020 to 2021 Unified Planning Work Program. John?
So in your packet, I have the draft in there. And quite frankly, I'll admit it's nothing too exciting to look at. It's sort of those things when you wake up the morning of the science fair and realize you haven't done anything. So you search the whole house for some clothes hangers and some styrofoam balls. So I made a solar system, basically. all I've done is I've taken the last UPWP, and there's nothing clever or innovative in there. I changed the dates. I added some text, and that's what I want to touch on briefly. We added the section where we talk about the how the time is charged, so that's like an extra page in there, because a lot of times you would have somebody working on the model for the long-range plan. Well, they would charge their time to the long-range plan, but they really should have been charging it to the model. So if we look at our mid-year review, which we had this morning, we have got a lot of time charged to the long-range plan versus not enough time charged to the model. So it'll help us internally, but it also provides more transparency. The other section that we added was based on the certification review that we had with FHWA, where they wanted us to specifically talk about how the UPWP should include a discussion of regional planning priorities and noticeable challenges that impact the planning activities. So I think it's on page 6. There's a new couple of paragraphs that talk about that. We call in the work that was done by the board with the strategic plan, and then the challenges. I sort of wrote a little bit about the challenges that we have, especially with El Paso County being half in the MPO and half in the TPR. During this meeting this morning, they clarified that we want to also talk about other challenges as far as beyond the funding, and I think one of the examples I give is, well, growth is a challenge. How are we doing with growth and those other things? So that particular, based on the input we received this morning, that will be another chapter that gets changed. And then finally, the other thing that's a little different about this versus the previous UPWP is I went back and I analyzed some of the actual dollar amounts expended. So we will start having a little tighter tracking of the different costs. Thank you. I couldn't. My brain wasn't tracking. And again, it's just it's not going to be perfect for this one. And I believe one of the examples I gave is, in the past I've just sort of put a 48% overhead cost, but I've sort of left that in that first year of the 2 years because you can't just make it change automatically because then your numbers get cattywampus. So I've left that in that first year, but that second year I've refined that number down to be more in line with what it should be, and again, making sure that the overall expenses are sustainable over time, because you've got the carryover monies from previously unexpended funds. You want to make sure that you're not using those previously expended funds to sort of pay salaries, because once you spend down that glut of funds, then all of a sudden your everyday expenses or every year expenses are no longer sustainable. So I've got a keener eye on making sure that the expenses over time are more sustainable and that we're staying within our budget. So this one sort of is the first adjustment towards making sure that the costs go that way. So if you look at the costs and you compare it with the previous UPWP, you'll definitely see some differences. I've moved things out of consultant funds and then more into staffing to, again, make sure that things are sustainable. We've got 2 positions on the books that are not filled. At the end of the day, we'll probably fill one of them, and the other one will be removed probably permanently. But I didn't feel it appropriate to do it in this iteration. So those of you who are still around this table with me, 2 years from now, that's probably when we'll remove that one position, but it's in there for now. And the other one, like I said, it's vacant right now, but I suspect by the end of the summer, I'll feel more confident to make sure that what we have is sustainable, and then we'll go ahead and fill it. And with that, the process with this is an information item, give you the opportunity to read through it. Again, if you've got time, I know you guys have other jobs and other things you've got to do, but to the extent you can and provide input, that would be much appreciated. We'll take all those comments as well as the comments we received this morning, and we'll revise it, and we'll send out another draft for your adoption next month, which will be May, and then it would go to our board in June. That would help us meet the deadline that was set out to us by CDOT. So this is your first view at it, and you'll get it again next month. With that, happy to answer any questions, but if you don't think of anything now, again, you're not adopting anything today, you can give me a call with those.
Krista?
John, I guess that was a great summary from the meeting this morning. I would just highlight what you said about we encourage you to kind of elaborate on the issues your region is facing and the constraints and the challenges and how that is directing and informing your transportation decisions.
Yeah, thank you, yeah.
Any other comments for John or staff? Okay, thanks, John. Item 7C, Public Participation Plan. Jason.
Good afternoon. Jason O'Brien, PPACG Transportation Planner. The Public Participation Plan is a federally required document. It guides our public involvement efforts and ensures that our work is well informed and representative of the region. It does not determine which projects get funded or which are eligible for funding. It's a document for agency use, but it's also a tool for the public so that they understand our work and that they have a good grasp of when they can provide their insights and comments on different things. The PPP sets down some minimum requirements, but also suggests ways of doing more to engage the community with a focus really on just being modern and inclusive. There's a concern for reaching the widest possible audience, including traditionally underrepresented groups, and specifically how we plan to connect with them for a planning process that doesn't leave out any group or doesn't disproportionately burden any specific group. This plan originally came before you in January, since been updated to incorporate some comments that we received, particularly with reference to those underrepresented groups. What we did is add a lot more detail about how we'll be proactive, try to engage those groups, build some trust, remove some barriers, that there's meaningful engagement. And the plan discusses the methods that may be used in some detail. A note on timing. Might seem a little awkward since we're getting ready to wrap up our current long-range planning effort over the next few months, as you've just been hearing about. So with that, much of what's in this public participation plan will really hit home as we begin our next plan and our next tip. Since it's really in the early stages of any long-range plan that you want the meat of the public engagement to happen so that the comments and the insights we get from the public can help shape the plan. On the downhill side of a plan, which is where we are now with the 2045 plan, it's really more of a, we're coming to you, public, with the draft, with a project list and a draft plan and saying, how did we do? So really the advantage of having this done now is just to make sure we've got a modern, recent public participation plan. It really should help us to connect the 2045 plan with what we hope to do next time. So we can sort of write the chapters and do the analysis in light of what we expect to do for the 2050 plan. We hope to come back and ask for your recommendation for approval next month, and we're aiming for adoption at the June board meeting. Any questions?
Anything for Jason? Okay. Thanks, Jason.
Thank you.
Item 8, member entity announcements. Is there anybody who has anything to share? Sally.
I just wanted to mention that Tuesday afternoon I attended a CDOT meeting that was pulled together by Valerie Sward, the right-of-way coordinator. It was for our region staffers to be able to talk about development cases that are coming forward in our community or projects that we also needed further clarification or informal discussion on. It was excellent. So we did have representation there from Fountain and El Paso County and myself, Woodland Park. We were missing Manitou and Monument and the city of Colorado Springs. So, Valerie is trying to do these, I believe, on the third Tuesday afternoon of each month. And it was great having her staff. We had Jason Nelson there, so the engineer, as well as a new engineer, Pepper Whitley. She's only been on staff for 3 weeks, So it was nice to meet her, and then also Arthur Martinez. So I appreciate the...
Gonzalez.
Oh, Gonzalez. Thank you. It's our maintenance guy. His name is Jess Martinez for our district. Yeah. So, looking forward to the May meeting, and it was really valuable.
Good. Thank you.
So just to elaborate on the meeting, it was something that we used to do in the old days, and it somehow or another got put by the wayside when we had a changing of different folks sitting in different chairs. So it's really been missed and a needed component of how we need to all operate and keep everybody in the loop. So I'm excited to have that back for you guys to move forward.
Great. Anything else from anybody? Okay. I just wanted to mention that our fall service changes will be starting on...
Sorry,
Oh.
not that I haven't talked enough already. Just a quick note on TIP policies and procedures document. It's coming up, the comment period, our draft review period is coming up due, and I'm going to send out a reminder email, I believe next week, just to let everyone know that the comments are due, and then we'll bring it back for a final approval. So I just wanted to bring up that one more thing. Thank you.
Thanks for the reminder. Yeah. Okay, our spring service changes are starting Sunday, April 28th. And so that will be starting up the summer service in Manitou Springs, in addition to what's already operating there. We're starting a new route to the northern hospitals, so Memorial North Hospital and the new Children's Hospital. We'll have service to that, and that's a really great story, because what we've been trying to do the last several years is fix what we have and improve what we have before we expand, but knowing that there are opportunities to expand, we're looking for partnerships to help us fund those services. So this was jointly funded through Colorado Springs Health Foundation. We received a grant for 2 years. And then Memorial North and Children's Hospital, they're kind of getting involved in our corporate branding program. So they'll have, I believe, wraps on the buses, and the shelters will have, information about both hospitals. So it's a great success story. And we started a new route in the fall to Pikes Peak Community College's Rampart campus, and that's kind of the same situation. That was the only campus of PPCC that didn't have service. And so they're helping to market that, and that Colorado Springs Health Foundation grant's also paying for some of that too. So, yeah, we're happy. We're looking forward to it, and spread the word. Get out there and ride the bus. So, all right. Anything else? All right.
Brian, I'm sorry. Can you tell me the start of the spring service schedule?
Sunday, April 28th.
Got it. Okay.
It's a week from this Sunday. Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
Okay. Item 9, items for future TAC meetings.
So obviously, the items that you had here as information will come back, as well as any TIP amendments that Catherine receives, and the TIP policies and procedures. Is that next month or the month after? May, yeah. So May is next month, so that'll be back as well. And with that, anything in particular that you'd like us to look for and arrange presentations for, we're happy to take your input and make those things happen.
All right. Thanks, John. All right. Anything else from anybody? For anybody? Okay. We're adjourned. Thank you for coming.
Brian, we've been grateful for Mandy from last week.